The joke with actors is Spielberg is on the elevator with you and says, hey, how's it going? Tell me something about yourself. Like, what would you say with only 20 seconds to leave a lasting impression? And that's one of the things we give people is that ability.
You guys have a free preview coming up this month in January. Tell us a little bit about that, and we'll put a link in the show notes.
What we do is we first give a little bit of a history of Sam, because even when Sam was alive and he would do the previews, he would spend about 45 minutes giving his life story, which I remember in 2011 going, I don't know why he's spending so much time talking about himself, but I'm totally in. Like, I'm so riveted. He had such an interesting journey from college where he started out directing Shakespeare to New York, casting for Broadway shows, to then out to LA to get into TV casting. And so we kind of cover that journey. And it's important from the standpoint of not only giving a little bit of credibility to who Sam was, but also to understanding why he became so interested in this work. So it becomes this nice story, and we are very interested in story, even if you're not an actor, because it's our contention that we're all telling stories. You can't be on a podcast if you don't know how to tell a story. You can't talk about your trip to Italy unless you can tell a story, because if you just list facts, it's boring, right? And so we use story to kind of set the stage for who Sam was and what led him to be so curious about this issue, this idea of why is it that actors, who should presumably be the most self-aware people on earth, because you have to be on screen or on stage and be exposed, emotionally naked, your humanity is on display. How is this profession seemingly the one profession that doesn't understand themselves, doesn't understand how they're perceived? We kind of build that story of how Sam got to that point, and then we segue into getting into the nitty-gritty of what is the actual 4-day process, benefits, results you'll get, how we will give you counsel on how to use those in your career. Always leave time for a Q&A or specific questions, because if we do have like a non-actor or someone who's VO instead of actor, and they maybe are sort of thinking that all the language seems to be centered around acting, we try to make it broad. Point being that people might be there from different professions who just have questions tailored specifically to their profession.
We do the 4-day intensive. In the first part of the workshop, there's more of this is who I believe myself to be. And then the second half of that day is gathering data from your classmates. There's homework that night to synthesize and bring that work together into one place. On Saturday, with a little bit more of that, gathering more information. And then we do a private consultation. Sundays, that's my favorite day, actually. It's such a powerful message of why we are called to a high calling as storytellers, because if we aren't in play, then other people will feel alone and scared, and our job is to bring the world together. I might get emotional because it is so powerful, and I think sometimes we lose that huge calling on our lives. We feel like it's not worth anything, and it's so powerful. Then you have another consultation, and then you go into the day 4, which is really the unveiling of who you are in front of your classmates. It's the first time where you have specific words to be publicly, verbally yourself. We go through an exercise that Sam came up with when he was casting Clash of the Titans. And then the rest of the time we do practical applications of the information that you now have. The data is now making sense. When Sam was doing the workshop, he would really talk about logistics, headshots, websites, the marketing materials that we need. But we, being actors ourselves, we're like, we know how to use this in our own preparation. I know that it would work for any art form where you're just reminding yourself of who you are before you go into the work. And so many times we're thinking about the lines before we go into the work as opposed to who we are. And so Matt brilliantly came up with the idea to bring in acting exercises or that kind of elevator pitch exercise, because we all need an elevator pitch when we are with that special person
On
in
the
an
first
elevator.
date?
Yeah,
Oh.
on the first date. Yep.
Tell me about
Tell me
yourself.
about yourself.